Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again. It is Season 3, Episode 7 of Empire State Hoops. We've got a lot to go through today, a lot of exciting matchups to bring to you. We're going to also recap some of the Knicks games from last week as well that we previewed, and we'll talk about those today as well, which was a bunch of Western Conference matchups. But from here, I'm Adam Rothschild, and alongside me, that is Marquise Frias. Once again, he is the new co-host in place of Matt Vargo, who has gone on his endeavors beyond Susquehanna University.
Shout out Matt Vargo. We wish you best of luck, man. We'll always do.
Absolutely, and of course, wishing Matt Vargo the best of luck for his endeavors in his future. But from here in the meantime, today's episode of Empire State Hoops is powered by Sport Pros USA. For more information, visit sportprosusa.com or call 877-HOOPS-NJ to make your dream court a reality today. So, the New York Knicks had a lot of interesting matchups last week.
Very interesting matchups, I would say, for myself. Yeah.
So we'll start things off at home against the Sacramento Kings. Knicks win 143-120. You have 4 of the 5 starters with over 20 points in this game. So starting things off, OG Anunoby, 33 points, also with 3 and 4 to contribute as well. Jalen Brunson, 25 points, 11 assists. Josh Hart with a triple-double of 20, 18, and 11. Mikal Bridges with 27, 5, and 7. So when you have these guys contributing all across the board, that's how they're going to keep winning games, and especially against a team like Sacramento, who we talked about has had a bounce back after Mike Brown got fired and Doug Christie took over in that interim head coach position, that they had a spark going, and the Knicks basically pulled the plug on them.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this Kings team, honestly, and where with that signing with DeMar DeRozan, you could tell that they really want to win now, and they really want to add pieces in order to get closer to a championship. But honestly, after that Mike Brown firing, I think that was one of the more surprising moves of this year in the entire NBA, that Mike Brown firing, just because he was coming off a coach of the year, I believe, 2 years ago when they were like the 3 seed against the Golden State Warriors. So I think that move was very interesting to get rid of a former coach of the year. But I think this roster itself, it's pretty good. Malik Monk has been on a tear recently. He put up 31 against the Knicks in that game, but it wasn't no match for the Knicks. I mean, when you build a roster that has so many stars and so many scorers and just everybody that can fill their role and do their job, you're going to expect more wins like this. And really, this is exactly what each and every game had coming for them with the Kings and then the Grizzlies and now the Nuggets. So
yeah, and of course we're going to get to the Denver Nuggets in just a moment with that as well. So from what we saw out of this game, like you said, there was a lot in this game as well with how they were able to handle Sacramento and the adversity in this game and how they were able to overcome it and find a way to get the win as the result.
No, yeah, I really liked the Knicks' play throughout this game. You talked about Josh Hart's play with that 20-point triple-double, and that triple-double including, I believe, 18 rebounds. Yeah, 18 rebounds. He was just all over the boards with the Kings, and he was just able to get it done on both matters of the floor. And then you look at your scores. You have Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, 25 and 27 respectively, but then you have OG Anunoby putting up 33. Whenever you could get a good game from OG, I don't think we've lost a game this year where OG put up more than 25 points. And it's not a bad thing when OG doesn't score the ball, because that's not really his primary skill. He's more of a defensive guy. But whenever you get that outscore or that outpouring scoring from a different player that's not one of your usual scorers, then it's definitely a plus. So that's why I think the Knicks definitely had a mind-blowing win against the Kings the other day.
Yeah, and that's what it led to. The Knicks took advantage. They got the win, a much-needed win in that crazy Eastern Conference with that top 3, top 5, and how competitive it is for everyone, going for the number 1 seed and everyone just chasing the Boston Celtics. But this next game turned out to be an interesting one as well. They once again score 143 points against the Memphis Grizzlies.
I mean, you talk about, I was watching this game live, and this was probably the most exciting game I can remember. Being a Knicks fan, I mean, it's honestly up there with Game 2 with the Philadelphia 76ers last year in the playoffs, where DiVincenzo, of course, hit that crazy shot to put us in the lead. But this game, I mean, It was competitive. I liked what I was seeing from the Grizzlies and how it really amped up to the 3 in the West versus the 3 in the East matchup. But I mean, as the game got forward, I mean, if you look at the box score, Third quarter, we had 42 points to their 32, and then fourth quarter, we had 41 to their 22. That fourth quarter, man, they literally turned. I put it in my notes. They turned into the Harlem Globetrotters. At highlight play after highlight play, that was like I was sitting on my bed, and I would remember seeing Mikal Bridges get an alley-oop dunk, and then Precious Achiuwa, I think he got like 2 bodies that game, and then Deuce McBride just with the exclamation point right over. I forgot who that was on the Grizzlies, but I mean, he put them right on a poster, man. It was just a very exciting. That was a great win by the Knicks, all-around effort. We can't really say anything less about the Knicks that game.
Yeah, this was razzle-dazzle all over the place. That's really what sums up this game. Of course, 7 players in double digits. Bridges with 28, 5, and 6. Brunson with 20 and 6 assists. Cat with a double-double, 24 points, 11 rebounds. This is one of the best performances that we've seen from the Knicks in a long time. And once again, like we said at the second street, 140-point performance for this team.
I mean, one of the things that we talked about with the Knicks before the season began was how is that bench going to play? And I think the bench, not only in this game, but in this entire game win streak, it's been impressive, like to matters that nobody could think of. I mean, Cameron Payne, I've said it before. I've never been that big of a fan of his, but he's been balling for us as that backup point guard. Deuce McBride is doing Deuce McBride things, and then Precious Achiuwa had a crazy game against the Grizzlies. So this bench has been just producing on and off the charts, and it's just a great thing to see and proving the doubters wrong, where they said that we won't have a good bench this year and we will just be relying on our starters, but that is just not the case right now for the Knicks.
Yeah, nobody thought this bench was going to be this good, and that's one thing that I talked about with Matt Vargo early on in the season, that there's a question where you maybe upgrade the bench a little bit, but the problem is you trade these guys, what do you get in return? Because there's not really anything you can get at this point.
Yeah, and I want to add in the fact that I mentioned Cameron Payne, Precious Achiuwa, and Miles McBride, sorry, but you have Landry Shamet, who we had on that 2-way contract, and he's now filled in a key scoring role off the bench. You know, he had, I believe, 6 against the Grizzlies the other day. So I think with that Landry Shamet shining, it not only adds defensive a defensive presence on the wing, but it's also he's going to be another 3-and-D player for Tom Thibodeau to plug in just in case Miles McBride or one of his starting wings gets a little tired. But I really like this Landry Shamet signing. I think it's going to come down to how he performs later in the season, if he can really be valuable towards the end of the season.
And how they have performed in this next game that we're just about to talk about is really what leads into what this conversation has really been about this Knicks team. So when you go up against a premier team like the Denver Nuggets, who won the NBA championship several years ago, and you're going up against an MVP caliber player in Nikola Jokic, when Karl Anthony Towns locked him down last night, just like he did in the playoffs last year, I was not surprised by that.
I honestly completely forgot that Karl Anthony Towns did that in the playoffs last year. I'm really impressed with how Karl Anthony Towns. He's one of those other players that have been proving people wrong throughout the season. I mean, you talk about where people doubted if he was be able to get the boards like our Hartenstein did, or just be able to be more of a menace down in the paint. But he's been the best, probably the best paint defender and all-around paint player in the NBA right now. And then with Jokic being held to 17, 6, and 6, I mean, it's a fair night from him, or it's actually really a downgrade for him, as he's just like putting up 20 games here and there. So I definitely think that this Nuggets game, with it being such a very high opponent, and all these games throughout this stretch being a very high opponents, it's showing a lot that this Knicks team is built for how the playoffs is going to go when they face those talented teams like Cleveland and like Boston. So I'm very excited with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you hold a player like Nikola Jokic's caliber to under 20 points, that's success in my book, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, because Nikola Jokic is one of the premier scorers in this league. So whenever you hold him down at least to less than 20 points, and then, like you said, like 10 I'd say 10 rebounds and 10 assists a game, as long as you could get those numbers from your guy, then you'll be good. And I think you would win. And that's exactly what the Knicks did.
And that wasn't the only success in this game, of course. Jalen Brunson, of course, with another masterclass performance Smart with 30 and 15. That's his second 20-plus point game and 10-plus assist game. And, of course, OG Anunoby also contributed with 23 and 4 as well.
Like I said, if you have OG Anunoby scoring the ball at a high rate in a game, then you're definitely going to have a higher chance to win if you're the Knicks. But Brunson, what more can you say about the captain? I mean, I'll follow you anywhere, Brunson. Come on now. He's been putting on his game during this 5-game stretch, and hopefully this continues throughout the whole season.
Yeah, all he's got to do is just take us out into the ocean. Let's get on the sailboat and let's go. Let's go to Boston. Take us to Boston. Come on, man.
We want everybody, man. Just take us anywhere, and we'll follow you, Captain.
That's exactly what we hope happens. But coming up after the break, the King is making his return to Madison Square Garden. LeBron and the Lakers coming to town on my birthday, and we'll see how that goes. And we're going to talk about that and more right after the break here on Season 3, Episode 7 of Empire State Hoops. We'll be right back.
Hey there, basketball fans. Are you ready to take your love for the game to a whole new level? Well, listen up. We've got something that will make your hoop dreams come true. Introducing Sport Pros USA, the ultimate destination for all your backyard sport court needs. Whether you're a diehard Knicks fan or just looking for some slam dunk fun with your family, Sport Pros USA has got you covered. Picture this. It's a sunny afternoon in New York, and you step out onto your very own custom-built backyard basketball court. The court where legends are born and memories are made. A court where you can unleash your inner baller and shoot hoops like your favorite Knicks players. But it's not just about basketball. It's about family, friends, and fun. Whether you're hosting a game of horse with your buddies or teaching your kids how to dribble and shoot, Sport Pros USA brings the magic of the game right to your doorstep. Our courts are more than just a place to play. They're a place to connect, bond, and create unforgettable moments. And with Sport Pros USA, you can have it all, right in your own backyard. We're not just building courts, we're building dreams. Dreams of buzzer beaters, comebacks, and endless laughter. So why wait? Give us a call at 877-HOOPS-NJ or visit sportprosusa.com today to start designing your very own backyard basketball court. Remember, at Sport Pros USA, we believe that every home deserves a court, and every family deserves the joy of playing together. So don't just watch the game, be a part of it.
And we are back here once again, Season 3, Episode 7 of Empire State Hoops. I'm Adam Rothschild, and alongside me, that is Marquise Frias, once again here alongside me today. And of course, this has been the big story, the one thing that we've been waiting to talk about since we started talking about it briefly last week, and now, on Saturday, February 1st, 2025, the King is making his way to Madison Square Garden. The Lakers, the Knicks, it does not get better than this.
It really doesn't. This is the NBA version of Yankees-Dodgers in a way. When you have the most storied player of all time compared to one of the most storied franchises of all time, and both the Knicks and the Lakers are pretty storied franchise, I would say. I mean, it's going to always draw headlines and draw attention, deservingly so. LeBron, I just looked up some simple stats against his past couple of games against the Knicks. He's been putting up 24 points, 25 points, 28, 29, 21. He hasn't had a game where he scored less than 20 points since 2018 against the Knicks, and that was when he was on the Cleveland Cavaliers. So obviously he's gonna put on a performance whenever he's in the Mecca, and he's also going to be in the Mecca. So I'm super excited for this one, most definitely.
And before we continue to talk about LeBron, let's take a look back at one of the classics on Empire State Hoops of Matt Vargo and his amazing claim of LeBron James. The legend that we talked about last episode that we call King James. And
Goat James.
Goat James comes in with this.
I can't do it. I can't do the goat. I can't do the goat. I can't do the goat sound.
And he comes in with his little puppies, and they come in here. They beat the Knicks. So another thing, too, to bring into this conversation with the Lakers is the role players that they have, because they're playing a lot better basketball than they played last season, because they struggled a lot to really get into a rhythm. And I think that's been a benefit with J.J. Redick coaching this team, and a lot of people doubted him, going from that commentary role with ESPN and ABC and goes straight into the coaching. And he was, of course, former player. We know that as well, one of the best shooters to ever play this game. And seeing what he's been able to do to elevate this team, I think goes to show for what the role players on this team have been able to do.
And you took the words right out of my mouth. As soon as you said that the Lakers were improving, I was going to say that JJ Redick is a major part of that. I mean, I think his offensive mind is really taking an effect to not only LeBron and the veterans of this team, but also to the young role players. I mean, you got Dalton Connect. He's a rookie, and he's putting up 24 points off the bench. You have Max Christie, who I thought was an interesting way to go for that starting point guard role and to ship out D'Lo, but I'm all for it. He's been pretty solid for them so far. A nice deep defensive player, and he can also dribble the ball well. Really set the tone for that offense. I think that's what JJ Redick really saw in him with how he wanted to run his offense for this Lakers squad. But definitely this Lakers squad has been improving, and it's always better when the Lakers are a good team or at least a competitive team in the league. You always want to see LeBron and all Anthony Davis and all of them in the playoffs. So I'm definitely hoping to see them there.
Well, the one thing too about this question is from the Knicks' perspective, how do you stop LeBron?
You can't stop LeBron. I mean, you can only wish to contain him, as the old saying goes. But I think with our wing defenders, OG and Mikal Bridges, I think OG will probably get this assignment first. And then if he's struggling, we'll switch him off with Mikal. But it's definitely going to be probably their biggest test of the year so far with LeBron and those two wing defenders for the Knicks.
Yeah, we're going to see what happens with that, and it's going to be a very exciting game. That will be Saturday night, 8:30 on ABC. Probably one of the best national TV games you're going to get this year on ABC. So a very fun one in store. Of course, those teams played in the NBA Finals back in the 70s, the Lakers and the New York Knicks. But after that, the Knicks will play the Houston Rockets. And this team, right now, second in the Western Conference. And I was talking to you about this before we started the recording today. It kind of reminds me of our basketball team here at Susquehanna, how it's a bunch of role players that are playing in a star role. So when you have guys like Jalen Green, Şengün, and Fred VanVleet, it really goes to show what this team has been capable of this year. And nobody thought they'd be second in the West in the end of January.
I mean, you just said it. They're the surprise of the year, I think, undoubtedly. And I think it's all in a testament to Ime Udoka, who's the former coach from the Celtics. He knows the veteranship needed to get into the championship and get a ring. So I think, or at least, well, he lost in the finals, so I shouldn't say get a ring. But he's been there before. He has that experience, and that's what you always want in a coach with young players. So I think you mentioned Alperen Şengün, Jalen Green, but you also have Amen Thompson. He's been on a tear lately. He's been going absolutely nuts. So I expect him to do some work against the Knicks for sure. But all the role players, I can go down the list really. It's very impressive to how the Rockets have built their roster. And I always said it. The Rockets remind me a bit of the Thunder team that was last year. They sucked before, and they were getting a lot of draft picks and a lot of key players from those draft picks, and now they're all starting to develop, and they're all starting to really fit into a perfect role, and that's making them a competitive team. That's what I see with this Rockets team. You have your lead. You could say your lead player with Jalen Green, but then you also have your workhorse with Alperen Şengün. He's been getting Nikola Jokic and Domantas Sabonis type numbers on a nightly basis, so I expect him to do that as well against the Knicks. But I think this is going to be probably the matchup of the week if it's not with LeBron and the Lakers, as it's going to be a top 3 team in the East versus a top 2 team in the West. So I'm very excited for this one as well.
Yeah, this will be an exciting matchup with how both of these teams play, because both of them play with physical toughness plus kind of a little bit of small ball with how they're able to move the ball quick down the floor and kind of space everything out in transition. So it'll be a fun one to watch for sure.
Most definitely. And I think with this run right now that the Knicks are having, like I said, we're on a 5-game win streak right now. These are all against quality teams. So I think if we just keep playing at least competitive against these teams, I do think that we will drop one of these games just because of how hard the schedule is coming up for us. But I think with how we've been playing so far, as long as we just stay competitive, it's a good sign, even though if we lose by 5 or if we lose, but as long as it's not like a crazy blow, because these are competitive teams. So I do expect us to be competitive as well with these teams for sure.
Yeah, and we'll see how it goes, of course. Like we mentioned, the Lakers with LeBron and Houston with the role players who kind of play in that star role. So now our final game we'll preview today will be against the Toronto Raptors. Now, this is a team I've talked about a little bit here on the podcast, but kind of going back and forth with them, of course, and how they've had some involvement with the Knicks as well, and a couple former Knicks on that roster, of course, R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley. Absolutely respect them for what they've done for the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, they were one of my favorite players on the team when they were on the team. of course, I mean, Emmanuel quickly off the bench is showing signs, or like when Deuce McBride now off the bench, he's showing signs of Emmanuel quickly. I think with OG and kind of like how Mikal Bridges are playing with that 3-and-D role, that's showing signs of RJ Barrett back when he was on the Knicks. So I definitely miss those guys, and I was definitely sad to see them go. But it was a sacrifice for the greater good. The Knicks are a competent team now, with OG Anunoby and with all these guys that we have now. But I always like to see whenever RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly face up against the Knicks, because it always seems like they go off. I mean, I believe RJ Barrett had a monster performance where he scored, I believe, 30 points. I think that could have been in a past game, but it was definitely this season where it was matched up against the Knicks and Raptors, and he did have a nice performance. So it's always nice to see the former players play their former team again. It's just in this case, it's going to be one of our favorite players, and Emmanuel quickly and RJ Barrett against our Knicks. So I'm definitely excited to see this one as well.
Yeah, and I think with this game, it's, you know, when the Knicks play teams like the Pistons, for example, or which they're actually very surprising this year, but there's other teams, you know, towards the bottom of the Eastern Conference, bottom of the Western Conference that have, you know, anywhere from 10 to 20 wins, and it's kind of hard to figure out where they're at. So it's kind of like this game, you really have to approach it where it's a game against a tougher opponent.
Yeah, and I see a future with the Raptors, honestly. I think they have the core pieces around them. I think RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes are going to be those two players for them that they should really try to build around. Manuel quickly, he's been proven to be a great solid starting point guard for them. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a must-win or a should-win game for the Knicks. I think we should take care of business in Toronto. So that I'm really hoping to see a win for the Knicks there.
Especially after the game they have after that next weekend, which is going to be probably even tougher than the Lakers, honestly, in my opinion.
I think this is going to be the game so far of the year for the Knicks, and that this game being the Celtics matchup that we've been waiting for since that embarrassing, it was shocking to me how poorly we came out against the Celtics on opening night. So I think it's going to be in the Garden. So I think the Knicks definitely owe it up to their fans to make this an exciting one for all of us. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see the 2 and the 3 seed in the East, but I hope that the Knicks can just get it done and not come out flat like they did in the opening night.
And we're going to talk more about the Boston Celtics led by Jason Tatum next week in episode number 8. But from here, today's episode of Empire State Hoops has been powered by Sport Pros USA. For more information, visit sportprosusa.com or call 877-HOOPS-NJ to make your dream court a reality today. So, we got to recap a bunch of games against some Western Conference opponents. We got to preview some games led by LeBron James, the Houston Rockets, and the Toronto Raptors. So we got to talk a lot about that. And do not forget to watch the Knicks and the Lakers Saturday, 8:30 on ABC. Be sure to tune in. Gonna be a fun one. Can't wait to talk about it after.
I mean, it's gonna be exciting. LeBron, he's one of my favorite players of all time, and then he's going against one of my favorite team of all time. So this is definitely this is you're gonna mark your calendar for this one. I'm super excited for this.
Mark it on your calendars. Watch it. Make sure to enjoy it. And once again, from here on Empire State Hoops, I'm Adam Rothschild. That's Marquise Frias, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.